dust of the veldt where the wind does moan. We've carved out a life in the soil and stone. They call us names, but we stand up tall. For faith and family, we've weathered it all. Raise the flag high, let the colors fly. With our hands we've built under God's own sky. No insult can break what's forged in our soul. Africa in her heart, steadfast and whole. They say we're dogs, they say we're small, but we've built empires and answered the call. With the earth in our palms and the sun on our backs, we march to the rhythm of unbroken tracks. Through the storms and strife we hold the line. The roots run deep like the old oak spine. Pride in our spirit, love in our veins. The faith of our fathers forever remains. Raise the flag high, let the colors fly. With our hands we've built under God's own sky. No insult can break what's forged in our soul. Africa in her heart, steadfast and whole. Through the years and miles we've walked this road, bearing the burdens, carrying the load. But the light of our fire, it will never fade. For the strength of our people will never be swayed.
Sunsets and skies so blue, mountains whisper stories of dreams so true. From oceans roaring wild to valleys deep, a heartbeat of a nation that will not sleep. Say South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies they weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people's above it all. Save South Africa, rise above the storm. Hands together strong, a new world is born. Beauty in our hearts, let it light the way. Evil cannot reign when we seize the day. People sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The people sing louder than the shadows can scream. Together we're stronger than the wicked scheme. The soil holds our history, roots run so long. A melody of freedom, we're singing strong. They may curse the land with lies, they weave their weave, but we hold the truth in what we believe. Their crowns may crumble, their thrones may fall, for the power is the people above it all. We know it all.
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Welcome back, folks. It is Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. And welcome back. This is Chris Wyatt Reports on the Obituary Africa channel here on YouTube. Welcome. And to all those Neanderthals who sit on the left-hand side of the arena, the canines in the center, and their right-wing podcasters over there on the right-hand side, as well as all the aspiring car guards out there. Welcome back to the program once again. Gosh, major developments, and that's a minor statement here. South Africa begins to react to the crisis that is coming the ANC's way. I saw Newsroom Africa in a video shilling for the ANC and also getting things wrong. Several different things in the South African media falsely reported today. I'll cover that, including Ronnie Jackson's bill being labeled as the Trump bill. It's not the Trump bill. It's Ronnie Jackson's bill. Trump's not behind it. That's fake news. And also Newsroom Africa claiming that Ronnie Jackson is the Republican Party's representative. He's not. He happens to be a Republican congressman from Texas. He's not the Republican Party's representative. That's fake news. And much, much more we're going to talk about here, folks. I'm going to give reaction from AfriForum and from the Democratic Alliance. There are others, but these are the ones I've been able to find thus far, and reminding folks about what's actually happening here. This bill, I didn't have a lot of confidence it would get out of committee, but sure enough, this bill by Ronnie Jackson cleared the committee last night. It was announced at 5:30 by Representative Jackson on his Twitter account. In a vote to 31 to 19, that's a two-thirds, wow, that's a two-thirds majority. 31 to 19 in the Foreign Relations Committee of the House of Representatives. Thank you, Teresa Mostar, for the 70 rand. Taxes. What's taxes? What taxes? I was clued on business. Okay. What, in a video or what? What happened there? Please explain, Lana. I didn't see that. They didn't contact me for comment, so I don't know what they're using. They use my content. It's news to me. Welcome to everybody that's here. I won't have time to go through and greet everybody on the news day. We're here early for Wednesday, as always, because we do Wednesdays with the Colonel at 7 p.m. South African time, 1 o'clock my time with Ronaldo. So you'll be redirected to that broadcast after this if you're like, hey, Marilyn, how's it going? All right. The learner car guards sit wherever they like, wherever you can find a seat. All the bigwigs get the seats first. All those well-established Neanderthals, canines, and well-known right-wing podcasters, they have right of first move, and they get the seats. Once they've occupied them, then any of you aspiring car guard learners can sit whatever's left. That's how it works. Okay, welcome back, folks. Let's get on to the news, and this is big news here. So I cannot enable captioning, Sally Beatty. I'm sorry, but I cannot enable captioning because YouTube doesn't permit that. If I enable captioning, then there's a 30-second delay between my broadcast and my viewers, and that has created problems in the past. My apologies for that, Sally, but it's beyond my control. I have no ability to do that. So I'm very sorry about that. But until YouTube fixes their broken system to allow closed captioning on everything, I won't be able to do that. I cannot do that. So we've tried it before, and it's just a disaster, an absolute disaster. I am one of the few content creators that actively engages their audience, and it's difficult to engage your audience when they're 5 minutes behind you, which is often what happens when you have a delay. For instance, this broadcast, you're not listening to me in real time. You're listening to me in the past. What I'm saying now, you won't hear for 5 to 7 seconds minimum. YouTube says the ultra low latency, which is what this is supposed to be a 3-second delay, but it's not. And the minimum, it's 7 to 10 seconds every time. I have to sit when I shut down my stream and wait several seconds for the stream to catch up. Otherwise, I end it prematurely and it cuts off things that are being said. So it's sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that, Sally. We'll try to find a way to help you so you can figure it out better, because I do talk very fast. And lip reading when I've got this big stash and beard is difficult. Let's get to the news, folks. United States bill to sanction South Africa moves forward. It's not to sanction South Africa. It's to sanction the ANC and leaders in the government of national unity. It is not to sanction South Africa. So that's already fake news. So Business Tech, which usually gets it right, gets it wrong. The bill introduced in the United States to review relations with South Africa and sanction some politicians has passed through now there's the truth, through the U.S. Committee on Foreign Affairs with majority support. Well, overwhelming support, 31-19. Bill had been introduced back on April 3rd by Congressman Ronnie Jackson, former personal physician of Presidents Obama and Trump. Yep, the days of allowing our so-called allies to walk all over us are over. South Africa made its choice when it abandoned America and our allies and sided with communists and terrorists. Wow, Ronnie Jackson. South Africa sided with communists and terrorists is the headline on the News 24 story by Amanda Koza. Amanda Koza gets this incorrect. She says that the U.S. welcomed 49 Afrikaners from South Africa who claimed that they feared for their lives. Again, I'm sorry, Amanda, but that's fake news. You know better. We've reported correctly, and it's been confirmed over and over again that it was 59, and they weren't Afrikaners. They were Afrikaners and colored folks. So stop spreading your fake news. Get it right. You see how subtly the media, who have piss-poor editors, allow that to slide in? If I was the editor of that article, that sentence never would have been in that article. Or it would have been corrected to state that 59 South Africans arrived on May 12th, mostly Afrikaners. That's a correct statement, mostly Afrikaners. Or you could even say overwhelming Afrikaners. But you can't say Afrikaners. That's a lie. That's propaganda. That's fake news. AfriForum. What does AfriForum have to do with anything? I'm not talking about AfriForum. Also, this is fake news in her story. Ramaphosa dismissed Trump's unfounded claims that white genocide was taking place in South Africa. Trump made no such claim, Amanda Koza, and you know that full well. We've rubbished that lie. I mean, any of the millions of people who actually watched that press conference know that that's a lie. Two things happened at that press conference with the phrase white genocide. The first was a question of President Trump, do you still believe that there's a white genocide in South Africa? To which Trump said, I'm not convinced of that. Okay, so he just said he wasn't buying the white genocide narrative. Why did the press fail to report that? The video evidence is there. We didn't mishear it. We heard what he said, but they continue to lie about it. They're the ones perpetrating the white genocide story. The story they call a myth, they're the ones creating the myth. The media. And the second time the question came up was when Annika Larson had a stage question, which was asked of President Trump. President Trump, what will it take for President Ramaphosa to convince you there isn't a white genocide in South Africa? To which Ramaphosa rudely interrupted him. And Trump said, go ahead. Trump did not claim there's a white genocide in that meeting. That's a lie. That's a lie. And Amanda Koza said that's factually incorrect. That's two things that never should have gotten through an editor. Brett Sessoms, wow. Thank you, Brett, for being here. Yep. Well, this is business day, and this is also fake news. Trump bill targets sanctions of ANC leaders, cuts South Africa aid. No, that's fake news and factually incorrect. Tondo Mako. I don't understand these journalists in South Africa. Are they just lazy? The bill doesn't cut aid. Aid was cut by the executive order on the 7th of February. There's no aid to cut. It wants to prevent future aid. That's not a cut. That's a prevention of future donations. And it's not a Trump bill. It's Representative Ronnie Jackson's bill. The president doesn't have bills. He's the executive. Congress has bills. And even if you want to imply that Trump is behind it, then state so. But they don't state so. This is fake news once again. Trump administration stepped closer to passing legislation that could see a review of U.S.-South Africa relations, including targeted sanctions and ANC leaders. Now, see, that's accurate. Citing racial discrimination, the reason the U.S. has slashed aid to South Africa and granted refugee status to a group of white South Africans. Okay, see, that's just fake news, too. That's fake news. Not citing racial discrimination. That's a partial story. The majority of the crux of the executive order on the 7th of February, which is not related to this bill, was related to South Africa's abuse of the United States. I've read that dozens of times, what the order says, just read it a day or two ago on air. I'm not going to go back and read it again. This is not journalism. This is yellow journalism. This is fake news. This is a disgrace. This is not journalism. It's not hard to do this. And just because you have a worldview that disagrees with what Trump has done or what the U.S. is doing doesn't mean you're allowed to report things falsely. You can get it incorrect. That's okay. But this is incorrect. This is malicious. Citing racial discrimination as the reason, the definitive article, not a reason, not amongst the reasons, but the reason. The U.S. slashed aid to South Africa and granted refugee status to a group of white South Africans. Bullshit. The United States did not grant refugee status to white South Africans. The United States granted refugee status to South Africans suffering unjust racial discrimination, including those of Afrikaner ethnicity and other racial minorities. That is a fact. There are people here now that aren't white who came over the program. So stop lying. Stop the propaganda. Jeez. The bill includes provisions requiring the president to determine whether South Africa's foreign policy undermines American national security interests. So the bill is dictating to the executive. So how is it his bill? Stupid people should wear signs. This could effectively nullify AGOA. Excuse me? AGOA has nothing to do with this legislation. AGOA is dead. AGOA is not for South Africa. This passes for journalism in South Africa. The African Growth and Opportunity Act is U.S. legislation that sunsets after 5 years. This time, it will not be renewed. It's gone. 30 September, it dies. It will not be renewed. It has nothing to do with Ronnie Jackson's bill. It will be gone before this bill ever becomes law, if it becomes law. Oh, my gosh. Listen. Business Day, Cockprot 24. I am available if you want education, if you'd like to learn, if you'd like to be informed. Stop spreading bogus nonsense and talk to people who actually know what they're talking about. And you don't have to believe me, just look it up. It's very simple. Business Day previously reported vehicle exports to U.S. collapsed 82% in the first half of the year on the back of Trump administration unilateral tariffs. That's true. But it was 87%. Yes. Yes. Correct. Well, AfriForum has responded. AfriForum says U.S. bill that could lead to sanctions on corrupt ANC politicians one step closer to implementation. AfriForum welcomes the approval. AfriForum described the approval by U.S. House Committee of a bill which will enable the implementation of targeted sanctions against corrupt and extremist South African politicians as a welcome development in the interest of the people of South Africa. The bill now gets debated, amended in the House before it goes to a floor vote, and then it will go on to the Senate. Former World Trade Organization official sends South Africa warning. The warning I've been giving since February. The warning I've been giving since 18 months ago related to AGOA. The warning I've been trying to give South African politicians, and they simply ignore it. South Africa has been warned that it's dangerously close to being priced out of the world's largest market unless Pretoria begins to take U.S. objections seriously. Trade expert and former senior World Trade official Johan Uman cautioned that if it fails to do so, the consequences for South Africa exporters and workers could be devastating. South Africa will have to face a 30% increase in tariffs across the board on August 1st. That's in addition to sectoral tariffs on steel and aluminum, which have already doubled from 25 to 50% and now include consumer goods like fridges and stoves. He said the U.S. has made it clear that these duties are part of a broad, aggressive trade strategy, with South Africa named among 20 countries to be hit first. Making things worse is that South Africa could face even harsher penalties because of its alignment with BRICS, which would total 40% tariff. I have only been telling you all this forever. Pretoria needs to engage Washington now. If you have non-tariff barriers that protect your local industry, but your exports face similar or worse barriers overseas, you lose. That's why it's critical to develop internationally agreed standards so these measures don't become just another form of protectionism. Asked about alternative markets, he said, I think South Africa must sharpen the pencil and engage very actively with the U.S. There are some issues we can probably fix. Others will be harder, but we can't sit back. Our ambassador left shortly after arriving. No replacement's been appointed. That tells Washington we're not serious about the relationship. What have I said? I mean, it's almost become a mantra with me. No ambassador, no special representative, no trade representative, no trade delegation, no conversations with the U.S. Sending a junior delegation to the U.S.-Africa Business Summit in Luanda while sending 6 ministers to China 2 weeks before the tariffs go into effect. They don't want a deal. They don't want to trade with the United States. And they're going to get what they want. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt a lot of South Africans. A lot of South Africans. The Government of National Unity has secured agreement through its GNU. Vote on the budget. Well, now you have a budget. Coalition partners vote in favor of legislation, but their comments highlight ongoing tensions. Attendance of those parties was not full. The vote was 262 votes in favor of the budget, 90 against. All 10 parties in the massive Government of National Unity fairy tale voted for it. Attendance across the GNU shaped the final vote. Of the ANC's 159 members of parliament, only 144 were present, and all of them voted lockstep, like good little lemmings. The DA saw 76 of its 87 members show up. Don't know where the other 11 were at. The IFP had 12 of 17, while the PA had all 6 members there. All 9 members there. The Freedom for Plus had 5 of 6 MPs. Access say 5 of 6, and ACDP saw 2 of their 3 MPs present. 259 of the 294 members of the GNU were present for the vote. That means that 35 weren't there. The MK Party demands the resignation of KwaZulu-Natal provincial legislature members, slams dynasty driven by corruption. The Mkoto Sizwe Party has called for the immediate resignation of KwaZulu-Natal Health MEC Nomagugu Simalani and Education MEC Sipho Hlomuka, following what it describes as serious and deeply troubling revelations of corruption, abuse of power, and political patronage. The party gave both MECs until July 26 to resign, after which they'll submit a formal request to the Speaker of the KZN Provincial Legislature. In a statement, the party expressed deep concern and serious disappointment with the troubling revelations recently brought to light and stated that its caucus in the provincial legislature refused to address Simalani and Hlomuko as honorable, saying the title is meant to uphold integrity, not to be inherited and stained through corruption. MK. Well, we turn our attention now to the Patriotic Alliance and Kenny Kunene, found at the home of a suspected murderer when police raided to make an arrest. Kenny Kunene, lots of pressure now on the Patriotic Alliance, but of course Gabe McKenzie says he just didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong. Didn't do anything wrong. Kenny Kunene faces probe after he was found at murder-accused home. Patriotic Alliance leader Gabe McKenzie says Deputy Kenny Kunene will be subjected to an investigation after police found him at the Santon house of murder-accused Katso KT Molefe. I believe Kenny 100%. I can't expect anyone to believe him. Hence, we are launching, or everyone to believe him. Hence, we are launching a full investigation to prove what we know, which is that he's innocent. Okay, so I'm sorry. Sorry. So you're launching an investigation to prove that he's innocent. Okay, well, that should be his position, not yours. Your position should be to launch an investigation to confirm whether it's true or not. That's what your investigation should be, not to prove his innocence. That you're not his defense attorney, Gabe McKenzie. You're supposed to be the president of the party, and you should be neutral in this and turn it over to a neutral arbitrator. But no, you're already poisoning the process by claiming you're going to do an investigation to prove he's innocent. So we know what the investigation is. It's going to be just like an ANC investigation, just like the ADR. Oh, we did nothing wrong. Oh, no, we committed crimes, we investigate ourselves, and we determine we did nothing wrong. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. So he's been placed on special leave for 30 days. Wow, paid vacation. McKenzie said we will share the process and findings. He told media outlets on Tuesday that he was at the house when police arrived to arrest Molefe because he was facilitating an interview with a newsmaker for journalists from his online news platform. So Molefe is accused of being the mastermind who ordered the hits on DJ Somebody and Armand Swart, the young man who was murdered and had nothing to do with anything. The father who was killed, a technical engineer for Transnet, after the elevated prices for widgets to Transnet at like thousands of times their actual cost. The DA in Gauteng has called for Kunene's resignation or for Joburg Mayor Dado Marrero to fire him. Well, the PA will decide his fate, but as we've seen, it sounds like a cover-up. 2 Patriotic Alliance seated Joburg councillors are in the running to replace suspend MMC for transport Kenny Kunene after he was found at a home of an alleged murder mastermind. Committee chairpersons Dwayne Ponsombi and Kaldeen Juwaria are 2 of the strongest contenders to replace him while he's on suspension. Well, we'll see what happens there. Kunene. He would never get involved with murderers, says Gabe McKenzie. Okay, well, I guess we trust Gayton. He spent a lot of time in jail. He would know what murderers are like. I'm sure he can counter them in prison. Now placed on a month's leave over alleged ties to accused criminal mastermind, Kunene has spoken out about the dramatic arrest, but questions remain about the purpose of the meeting and the identity of the unnamed young journalist he was accompanying. Patriotic Alliance's leader, Gate McKenzie, says the decision to place his second in command on a month's suspension amid an internal investigation over links to an alleged criminal mastermind is the hardest decision he's made in his life. Really? That's the hardest decision you made in your life. How is that the hardest decision in your life? It's a very simple decision. It's a very simple decision. And 30 days is a joke. 30 days is a joke. Wow. Hardest decision of Gate McKenzie's life. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. Mojo Love's CEO is calling for Kunene to be dismissed. The CEO of entertainment channel Mojo Love, Aubrey Towell, has called for the dismissal of Johannesburg's MMC for Transport, Kenny Kunene, for being associated with criminals allegedly responsible for somebody's death. In a statement on Wednesday, Towell said he found Kunene's alibi was inconsistent and it was shocking that as an MCC could possibly be linked to a criminal. As part of damage control, Kunene has gone on a media tour to try to sanitize his image and lie to South Africans. In one media interview, he mentions that he does not know Molefe, and in another, he states that he met Molefe at some party. In another interview, he states that he was accompanying an unknown journalist to obtain an exclusive interview with Molefe when he says he does not know. Whom he says he does not know. South Africans deserve honorable leaders, and Kunene cannot be seen as one. The Aubrey Towell Foundation calls an immediate dismissal of Kunene and investigation into this issue. Wow. Joburg residents deserve members of council who are beyond reproach. The police should immediately ensure that Kenny Kunene's phone and whereabouts is investigated, if necessary, arrest him and face the full might of the law. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's all coming out now, man. Wow. We will get revenge for Babito Deokaran's assassination, it sounds like. We're going to see finally somebody pay a price for that horrific thing that happened. Well, former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo says he has no confidence. Well, he has little confidence in the Hawks. My faith in the Hawks is not the same. Zondo says Scorpions were more effective. Indeed, they were. Former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo says he has less faith in the Hawks than he did in the now defunct Scorpions. They were disbanded in 2009 after they had caught too many corrupt ANC leaders in criminal activity. They had to be taken away because we could not. Imagine if the Scorpions had been around all this time, we'd never been in this boat. If Leonard McCarthy and the Scorpions had been around, South Africa would not be in the situation it's in today. All these criminals in the ANC would have been prosecuted by the Scorpions and put in jail. But they were a threat to the ANC, the corrupt kleptocracy of the ANC, and therefore they were disbanded. They were disbanded. He was speaking at South African Council Church's anti-corruption conference today, where he lamented the need to intensify the fight against corruption. In the early 2000s, Scorpions were highly effective in fighting corruption, adding that criminals had begun to fear them. However, the ANC decision in 2007 to disband the unit left South Africa exposed to corruption. Yep. The results are there for us to see in terms of what happened to the levels of corruption. I don't believe the Hawks who replaced them are up for their job of fighting crime. No, because they're the chicken hawks. Yep. Well, citrus exports are improving with the European Union and Middle East biggest consumers. Now, this is Carrying the Water by Naila Abraham, carrying the water for the ANC, because the whole purpose of this story is not to talk about the growth in citrus exports, but the purpose is to try to allay fears about the loss of citrus exports to the U.S. market, which will be devastating, even though it's only 6% of exports. That's why the story is running now. Transnet Port Terminals said that citrus export volumes from South Africa's ports increased by 18% at the end of June compared to the previous year. According to the Citrus Growers Association, a record 171 million 15 kg cartons are expected to be exported globally this year. Citrus exports are mainly shipped from Cape Town Port, followed by PE and Nkwara ports in the Eastern Cape and Durban Port. Most of the season's exports have been to Europe, followed by the Middle East, the world's second largest citrus producer behind Spain. Number of reefers, refrigerated containers transported via rail has also increased at ports. Yeah, about 5 to 6% of all South African citrus exports go to the U.S., having previously enjoyed duty-free status under AGOA. About to face a 30% tariff. Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen said yesterday that the country was still waiting for feedback on a revised trade offer to the U.S. after previous submissions were described as not ambitious enough. I'm sorry to burst Minister Steenhuisen's bubble, but the United States is not addressing your so-called offer. You were given conditions. You've not addressed the conditions. So any communication after that is simply fluff on your part. There is nothing the United States is considering because you've not sent us anything because you have refused to acknowledge the 4 conditions that the U.S. government has presented to the South African government. It's as simple as that. Also, Mr. Steenhuisen, why are you in China for a week? A country that already imposes 30 and 40% tariffs against your agricultural products. You think Did you have success lowering those tariffs? Did you get duty-free access to the Chinese market? Did you? No, you didn't. So what were you, Parks Tao, Paul Mashatile, and 4 other ministers and 1 deputy minister doing in China for a week when 30% tariffs, possibly 40%, are on your doorstep? I'm sorry. Just nonsense. The complete disregard for human life is shocking, folks. Kailicha, a 7-year-old girl, has been found murdered. 7-year-old girl reported missing. Kailicha was found murdered in Nambuzane Street. Child's mother spent Tuesday pleading for help with a loudspeaker. Ward counselor Lonwabo Kunene said the girl was allegedly stabbed in the head with a screwdriver. Who stabs a 7-year-old child in the head with a screwdriver? What the hell is wrong with people? What the hell is wrong with people? Killing took place in close proximity to the Ntlatsane Road, where 3 men were shot dead in separate incidents last week. Can't imagine what the mother's going through, says community member Nomzamo Nshinga. The victim sustained injuries to her head and was declared deceased on the scene by medical personnel. I don't know what to say. It doesn't describe who the girl is, but the odds are she's colored, would be my guess. There's no respect for human life. None whatsoever. Just animals that would do this to a child. Well, the oldest royal princess has died at the age of 102. Nicknamed the Moving Encyclopedia, Princess Nontombi Bombuvu Zulu dies at 102 years of age. She was the daughter of the late King Solomon Kunene Zulu, the great-grandfather of King Mzulu Kwazalatini, the current king. The death of Princess Notombumbuvu who was the only surviving child of King Solomon, I imagine, at 102. It was confirmed by the king's spokesman, Prince Tulani Zulu. The royal family is shocked or saddened by the passing of Princess. She was a moving encyclopedia. 102 years of age. She's passed away. Fair winds and smooth sailing to the princess. Well, folks, how did 25 kids from Cape Town go to Europe for a soccer tournament on a one-way ticket? You can't buy a one-way ticket, particularly from South Africa. You got to have a return ticket. Somebody manipulated the system and abandoned these kids in Europe. Someone needs to investigate this. How do you give people responsibility for children when they behave in this fashion? A group of 25 school children from Cape Town were left stranded in Europe after traveling to Spain on one-way tickets for an international soccer tournament with no confirmed return flight. The players aged between 13 and 18 represent the BT Football Academy, a Cape Town-based youth development club, at the Don Nosti Cup in San Sebastian. They were scheduled to return home on July 15th, but they didn't have a return ticket. They were left stranded in Portugal with no food or accommodation or funds to secure the return to South Africa. The tickets were allegedly booked by the club's founder, Brandon Timmy, who is said to have purchased one-way flights to Cape Town International Airport. Timmy also operates his own travel company, BT Travel, which means that he has knowledge of loopholes in the system most travelers are not aware of. Timmy and his wife returned to South Africa with their return tickets. The children were stranded in Europe. Wow. How is such a thing even possible? The South African Football Association is looking at this trip. They've distanced themselves from sanctioning BT Football Academy's trip to Spain, where more than 30 children were stranded. We wish to place a record that this tour was not sanctioned by SAFA, Cape Town, or the South African Football Association at national level. Ordinarily, applications like this would come from Cape Town to national, and no such application was forwarded to national. The association also confirmed the investigation into the matter was underway. BT Academy used to belong to the Two Oceans Local Football Association as a member of the SAFA Cape Town. They subsequently resigned to go to Cape Winelands. A spokesperson of SAFA Cape Winelands earlier today also told do homework because if you don't belong to this side, you may belong somewhere. They needed to pay an extra 15,000 Rand to secure return flights. 28 of them are still in Lisbon. Wow. After parents reached out throughout South Africa came aboard, including Tracy Lang Cares Initiative and Chantel Engelbrecht from the Facebook page Colored Girls Rock to facilitate the return of the group. A Kryfontaine father of a 13-year-old said, I'm very much excited, just wanting him to get home, wanting the rest of the kids to get home safe and sound. Everybody had to stand together, and we had to agree with one common goal, which was getting the kids home. But I was shocked how quickly everything happened. Everything blew up yesterday, but we as parents have been dealing with this with the chairman of the club since last week when he initially asked us for the additional funds. Wow. While a visa application doesn't require actual purchase tickets, some embassies are strict. They'll call the airline or hotel to confirm the bookings. In this case, they could have gotten dummy itineraries just for the visa application. But the biggest question is, how did an airline check them in on a one-way ticket? Even when flying from South Africa to Kenya, travelers are often denied boarding without a return ticket. European countries are especially strict, and once they got to Spain, how did immigration allow them through? Maybe return tickets were booked, which got through the tickets and later canceled. Yeah, something very fishy going on here, folks. Something very fishy going on here. How does this happen? I mean, these are kids. You can't leave them unattended. A collapse in the DRC. Gold miners feared dead after a landslide. Thousands of people working in the informal mining site in eastern Congo, an area controlled by an armed militia. Landslide traps miners. A landslide at an informal gold mine in the Democratic Republic of Congo where thousands of people working has left an unknown number of people trapped underground since Sunday. Wow. Team was searching for people in 14 shafts at the site in Lomera. Thousands of miners have been digging in recent months. The number of miners who were in the shafts on Sunday is not known. 12 people have been rescued. The number of people would only be released once the search was over. It's an artisanal mine. This illicit mining is a problem. It destroys the environment. People get killed. There's no oversight, no safety. China will provide up to 43% of all imported cars in Australia. The Chinese invasion continues. More than 2 of every 5 new cars in Australia will be made in China within 10 years. By 2035, 40% of all imported cars in Australia are projected to be manufactured in China. Why? Because of Australia's policy, its demented green policy, which is pushing this. Vehicles manufactured in Japan account for 30% of new cars in Australia this year, but those from China make up just 16%. So why will it happen? Well, because they've got all this nonsense going on. China's growing dominance is caused by several factors. Australian policy and incentives, such as labor's new vehicle efficiency standard that prefers zero-emission vehicles, increasing local demand for low-emission vehicles. China's lower production costs and strategic specialization in key sectors like electric vehicles. This is why the Chinese are taking off. They're taking off because of the leftists forcing this green energy bullshit when electric vehicles are actually more harmful to the environment than internal combustion engines. Well, Danes no longer like America. Really? Trump's fixation with Greenland has ended Denmark's love affair with the U.S. Copenhagen seeks help from European allies as it defends its largest territory. Now, the irony of this is Denmark is defending its colonial possession, which represents 98% of the surface space of the Danish realm. And these arrogant asshat leftist Europeans don't even see it. In his long career as a senior Danish politician, including Minister of Defense during Trump's first administration, Claus Hjort Frederiksen has said he always valued the Scandinavian nation's tight bond with the U.S. And like many from Denmark, until recently politically one of the more pro-American countries in Europe, he said he's heartbroken by how the U.S. has turned from best friend to rapacious foe. I'm sorry, rapacious foe? We've done nothing to Denmark. Nothing. We've taken nothing from Denmark. We've not sanctioned Denmark. We have not banned trade with Denmark. We continue good relations with Denmark. This is just propaganda. Trump's claim on the Arctic island of Greenland, which accounts for 98% of Danish kingdom's landmass, has become the most important feature of the bilateral relationship. Yeah. So are most Danes, according to YouGov poll, unhappy? 20% of Danes have a favorable opinion of the U.S., down from 48% in August of last year. So they offer polls from February of this year, 5 months ago, and one from last year. 41% of Danes, according to newspaper polls, said the U.S. is a threat to their nation. A threat to your nation. I'm sorry. We're a threat to Denmark. You whiny crybabies. We have defended you for 70 years from communist takeovers. And you are calling us a threat to your nation. Fuck off. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. A threat to your nation. Why? Because we have concerns that you're not defending your colonial possession, your colonialism, your settler approach to Greenland. So that bothers you, that the U.S. is concerned about the security of the Arctic and you're not? You've done nothing to secure the Arctic sea lanes? That bothers you? That bothers you? Well, you can piss off. Wow. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen was shocked when Trump laid out his demand for Greenland initial conversation after the election in the second term. Well, why are you shocked? You've neglected the geostrategic interest of NATO, and now you want sympathy? Our position is clear. We want to seek cooperation with the U.S. regarding security in the High North. We're always approaching the U.S. and a very important and very strong ally, says Christian Radberg Madsen, senior lawmaker from Denmark's ruling Social Democrats. But the future of Greenland is not something that is to be decided in Copenhagen or Washington. It's to be decided in Greenland by the Greenland people, which is what Trump has said. Let the Greenlanders decide. But you don't want to let the Greenlanders decide. You still control its foreign policy, and it's still a colonial possession. Protests sparking in Ukraine over the grifter-in-chief Volodymyr Zelensky's effort to prevent corruption investigations. Fighting corruption has been a central issue for Ukrainians since pro-Western protests a decade ago, and new curbs on the watchdog agencies have alarmed many. Mass protests erupted in Kiev and other Ukrainian cities late Tuesday after the country's parliament passed legislation many fear will neutralize the main anti-corruption bodies and roll back reforms introduced over 10 years ago. More than 2,000 people gathered in central Kyiv Square, close to the seat of President Grifter Zelensky's administration, shouting, "Shame." Yep. Shame, 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 shame. What I tell you, the piano player is the grifter-in-chief and always has been. Where are our $250 billion there, Volodymyr? Where's that money at? Germany is betraying NATO and betraying the United States. Germany's call for French nuclear protection gets reality check. Ambitions of talks on extending French nuclear protection in Germany have been scaled back. Elmarie Swart, you're very welcome. In February, the man who will become Germany's new chancellor said the U.S. can no longer be trusted to defend his country, and he would seek the protection of French and British nuclear arsenals. But 5 months later, talks between Berlin and Paris about expanding the scope of France's deterrent against Russia's growing aggression are shaping up as an evolution, not a revolution. So Merz, who just came to Washington, said the United States isn't defending Germany. I'm sorry. I must have just, missed those 15 years of my life that were spent in Germany protecting your lazy asses from invasion from the east. Maybe I imagined all that. I didn't really eat spaghetti ice on the Fußgängerzone in Bad Kreuznach and Rheinland-Pfalz from 1984 to 1987 and go to El Barco and the Canopy Clubs and go on deployment to Kreilsheim and to Hohenfels and Grafenwöhr. I just imagined all of that. We never did that. We didn't spend our blood and treasure defending your broke-ass country of leftist retards for 70 years. We're not a reliable defender of Germany. Shut up, Friedrich Merz, you ungrateful prick. Ungrateful prick. Unbelievable. Well, Italians are up in arms over 2 Italian criminals that are being held in Alligator Alley, the Alligator Alcatraz. Lawmakers call for Italy's conservative government to do more to secure the repatriation of 2 criminals held at the new facility in Florida's Everglades. Detention of 2 Italians at Alligator Alcatraz sparks backlash in Italy. The detention of 2 Italian nationals at Alligator Alcatraz, the new immigration detention center in Florida's Everglades, is sparking criticism from lawmakers in Italy, who are calling on their country's conservative government to speak out. Gaetano Mirabella Costa and Fernando Arteza are being held in inhumane and degrading conditions in the facility, says Laura Boldrini, a lawmaker with the opposition Democratic Party. I'm sorry, and has she been there? I haven't, so I really can't speak to the conditions. How does she know from Italy? Former Prime Minister Matteo Renzi, now a senator who leads the Italian Viva Party, accused Giorgia Meloni's government of deference to Trump rather than defending the rights of an Italian citizen. A spokesperson for the Italian Foreign Ministry said Italian officials have been following the case of Gaetano Costa and Fernando Artesi since the first report. Tricia McLaughlin, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, confirmed in email that the 2 Italians were being held at the facility. Under President Trump, if you break the law, you face consequences, she said. Yep. According to McLaughlin, Costa overstayed his B2 tourism visa for almost 7 years. So he illegally stayed in America, suckling from our nation for 7 years. Artesa entered the United States using a visa waiver program, which authorized a stay for 3 months, but he remained in the country for almost 10 years. Both had been arrested over criminal offenses, and now they're being held at Alligator Alcatraz. Too bad, so sad. Here illegally. Bye-bye. No empathy. Google has removed nearly 11,000 YouTube channels, supposedly linked to China, Russia, and other nations. More than 7,700 channels deemed as propaganda were linked to China alone. Google's removed nearly 11,000 YouTube channels tied to state-run propaganda campaigns for China, Russia, and other nations over the last few months. They did this quietly. On a press release on July 21st, they said they removed thousands of YouTube channels, ad accounts, and blog linked to the nations. The move was part of work done by Google Threat Analysis Group to counter disinformation. Well, then you better start targeting the New York Times and Washington Post as well. With more than 7,700 channels and other assets removed in the second quarter were linked to China. More than 2,000 were linked to Russia, Russian entities. In the month of May alone, the company removed 20 YouTube channels, 4 ad accounts, and 1 blogger that was linked to Russian state-controlled media RT. Wow. And Microsoft announced on July 18th it would stop using China-based engineers for technical support on the Department of Defense's cloud system. Microsoft has been offshoring the management and security of the Department of Defense's cloud system to store our documents to Chinese engineers based in China. Ladies and gentlemen, the threat is not simply from terrorists. The threat is not simply from countries trying to invade us. The threat is not simply from malicious actors abroad. The threat comes from American corporations who threaten the safety and sanctity of our nation. Unbelievable. Microsoft. Wow. Well, the World Court is hearing a request from Vanuatu. The International Court of Justice Judge Uvi Iwasara says greenhouse emissions are unequivocally caused by human activities. In part, that's true. That's true. International Court of Justice, the top world court, began delivering a historic advisory opinion on climate change, which is called an urgent and existential threat. Reading the opinion at the Peace Palace in The Hague, president of the court today said greenhouse emissions are unequivocally caused by human activities and have cross-border effects. The consequences of climate change are severe and far-reaching. They affect both natural ecosystems and human populations. These consequences underscore the urgent existential threat posed by climate change. After years of lobbying by vulnerable nations who fear they could disappear under rising seas, the United Nations General Assembly asked the ICJ in 2023 for an advisory opinion, a non-binding but important basis for international obligations. The climate zealots are still at it. Their religion is in full swing. President Trump says the U.S. has a trade deal with Japan to lower proposed tariffs. Without new agreements, import taxes were scheduled to rise, but they're not going to rise now. President Trump said yesterday he's clinched a trade deal with Japan, reducing the tariffs he planned to impose. He posted on Truth Social that they would impose a 15% duty on Japanese imports, down from 25%, which he threatened last month. In exchange, Trump said Japan will remove trade barriers for U.S. auto and agricultural imports and will invest $550 billion in the U.S. But Tokyo says that's more about financing rather than investing. The 15% rate also applies to automobiles and auto parts imported from Japan to the United States, down from the 25% that's already in place. White House also confirmed the 15% rate, which is higher than the full rollback that Japan had hoped for. Well, there's your death sentence for the South African automobile industry. Not that it really matters. We don't get parts from Japan that are similar to South Africa, but South Africa now has a 25% auto tariff. It'll soon be 30%. Japan has a 15% tariff. Japan has scale, quality, relationships, dealerships, and South Africa just suffered another blow with that favorable deal for Japan. U.S. and Japan reached a trade deal, 15% instead of 25%. There you go. The U.S. will receive 90% of the profits from the investments that come into the U.S. Japan will also open its trade. It is major. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a minor thing for Japan to remove barriers on automobile imports to Japan. Unfortunately, we've had 40 years of these barriers, which have been devastating because Japanese like American cars, but they couldn't get them because they couldn't afford them. So I don't know if it's too little too late. Trump has fired 25% in the Internal Revenue Service. What? Trump slashes 25% of IRS workforce with buyouts, firings of nearly 26,000 agency staff. The administration has slashed the IRS workforce by nearly 26,000 people through buyouts and firings, marking a 25% reduction in staffing as President Trump works to reverse Biden's buildup of the tax agency. The cuts slice through some of the most prominent IRS divisions, taking 27% of tax examiners and 26% of revenue agents. Information technology shedding 23% of its workforce, and the management analysis division will lose 28% of its staff. These separations will have nationwide implications, the Inspector General said. The data, which was current in May, show that most of the departing staffers accepted one of the administration's various buyout offers. Wow. This is after the Biden regime tried to hire an extra 80,000 armed IRS agents, giving them firearms to come after Americans. Well, is this good news? I don't know. Fewer people will probably mean even longer waits for a response from the IRS. But simplify the tax code, we don't even need the IRS. Get rid of them. Wow. After the 2020 elections, Democrats took full control of Congress. Biden's budget climate law pumped tens of billions of dollars in the IRS to hire examiners, agents, and support staff, increasing the workforce to 103,000. So now we're going to roll it back to where it was in 2019. Wow. Well, the court has ruled against New Jersey in their bid to ban ICE detention facilities. The state cannot control the federal government and vice versa, since it's each is sovereign, Circuit Judge Stefanos Biblis wrote. Exactly. New Jersey does not have the authority to prohibit private prison companies from housing illegal immigrants in behalf of immigration and customs enforcement. The Third Court of Appeals, the Third Circuit Court said. The Court of Appeals, Third Circuit said. Yep. In August 2021, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy signed into law Assembly Bill 5207, which bans states and local entities as well as private detention facilities from entering agreements to detain illegal immigrants. But of course, that is in violation of the Constitution. It violates the Supremacy Clause. It violates the sovereignty of the federal government, and it was illegal. And of course, Democrats run New Jersey, so illegal is their strong suit. United States Olympic Committee, much to their chagrin and their suffering, have bowed to pressure, recognizing they can't survive without our tax dollars. U.S. Olympic Committee bows to Trump on transgender athletes in seismic move. The U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee revised without fanfare its eligibility rules to comply with President Trump's executive order on women's sports, effectively barring male-born athletes from competing in women's teams across the Olympic landscape. In a letter Tuesday, the Colorado Springs-based committee told national sports governing bodies that it had amended its athlete safety policy to include a section that references Trump's keeping men out of women's sports. As a federally chartered organization, we have an obligation to comply with federal expectations. The guidance we receive aligns with the Ted Stevens Act, reinforcing our mandated responsibility to promote athlete safety and competitive fairness. Well, Riley Gaines had something to say. She said, U.S. Olympic Committee has announced it will comply with Trump's executive order banning men from competing in women's sports. She said, it's hard to applaud an organization for merely following a law, but nonetheless, this is a win. It's a major win. It's a major win for Title IX and for women's rights. Congratulations to women athletes, female athletes who will not have to face this demonic idea that genetic males compete against them in sports. Well, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is under fire for not responding. They responded quickly in Texas, but other states are waiting. Several states and 2 Native American tribes are waiting for disaster aid, while hundreds of requests for critical services remain on hold. Well, let's be clear about something. A request does not mean it's going to be granted. It does not mean you're entitled to it. A request is a request. A request is a request. Tom Poltney, thank you for sharing it. I'm going to interrupt my news. Another fake news. For more information queries, people can use the following email. This post was made on one of the refugee groups. Yeah, I don't know what refugee group that is. Which refugee group? When you say refugee, Facebook? One of the groups that's on WhatsApp. Where is it you talking about, Tom? Please help us with that so we can stop that right now, because that is bogus. That email is not going to provide you any information. So, Mad Max Colonel, please see the screenshot I sent you on WhatsApp. U.S. Embassy post. Okay, hang on. So let me go to WhatsApp. Okay, WhatsApp. Okay, what is this? Okay, I don't. You guys. So, all right. You're saying this is on Facebook, guys. Why can't you wait till I'm done with the news? I mean, why do you interrupt with this stuff now? Now we're gonna upset the news here and go after something. I don't know why people can't wait. So. Oh, come on. U.S. Embassy essay is not a real. What's this? What's going on? That's actually posted on the real place. Okay, that's not fake news. That's not fake news. That's on there. Well, okay, that's news. All right, well then I stand corrected. That's new. Okay, Ronaldo, thank you. That's not fake news. That's on the U.S. Embassy web. That is U.S. Embassy website. That is a legitimate site. All right, so where's this? We want to take a moment. I don't see that. I don't see that. Let me click on this link here. I don't see anything here that says that. General purpose timeline. Is that on the U.S. Embassy's website? ZA.usembassy.gov. Okay. Oh, that site is so slow. There we go, finally. I don't know where's this text from? General update program. Where are you getting this from? Where is this coming from? It's not posted on X. I can't see it anyway. Send me the link to that tweet. I see nothing there. I see a lot. Visa are required to list all social media. Applying for, yeah, no, this is all old news. There's nothing here that says anything that you're saying there. I don't see that. I don't see that. You're going to have to send me the link. You just not just send me text, general update program timelines. I don't know where that's coming from. You have to send it to me. Thank you. Okay. There you go. Okay, sent me the link. That's not there. No, you sent me text that says, "Dear all, we wanted to take a moment to address the timeline. We're sure everyone's still waiting for the next steps. It's been a recent slowdown." You sent me that text in a WhatsApp, Mad Max, and it doesn't say where it's from. That doesn't help me, guys. I've got that email. That's from the U.S. Embassy. Got it. That's legit. Okay, but Mad Max sent me some text that's unrelated. And anyway, back to the news, folks. This is why we don't entertain this stuff during the news. Sorry, but now we're way off the mark here. Okay, Commerce Secretary. Anyway, I mean, this could wait till we're done. We still got 30 minutes before we do Wednesdays with the Colonel here. Commerce Secretary says U.S. still eyeing 10% baseline tariff. Well, that would be the baseline for all countries. Basically, we're going to have tariffs of 10% is what Lutnick is talking about. He told CBS's Face the Nation that the Trump administration was not looking to increase 10% baseline imposed on smaller nations. But it's not going away. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Well, Stephen Colbert says the gloves are off. Rants of profanity at Trump after the show's cancellation. Colbert isn't exactly shy about heckling President Trump. Over the weekend, it sank in that they're killing off our show, Colbert said. But they made one mistake. They left me alive. And now for the next 10 months, the gloves are off. I can finally speak unvarnished, the truth, the power, and say what I really think about Donald Trump. And we can say what we want to say about your dumbass. Nobody cares what you have to say, Stephen Colbert. You were never entertaining. Never entertaining. Even what you did in the early days, you were just silly and stupid. And you're just dumb now. You're just dumb now. And you're expensive. Who wants your garbage? Who wants your garbage? Former Black Sabbath lead man and reality TV star Ozzy Osbourne, heavy metal pioneer, has died at the age of 76. He played his final concert this month. Ozzy Osbourne, who helped pioneer the heavy metal genre as a frontman of the rock band Black Sabbath and later became a TV star thanks to MTV's show The Osbournes, died yesterday at the age of 76. It's with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning, the singer's family said in a statement. He was with his family surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family's privacy at this time. They did not indicate his cause of death. They debuted in 1970. There's Black Sabbath back in the day. Wow. In the 1980s, he was sued because someone said their kid killed himself because of him. Well, as he talked about, he used to do lots of drugs. In the 70s, he said his drug use, over 40 years, I've been loaded on booze, coke, acid, quaaludes, glue, cough mixture, heroin, Rohypnol, Clonopin, Vicodin, and too many other heavy-duty substances to list. This is an autobiography, I Am Ozzy. But Black Sabbath fired him back in 1979. He took off on a solo career. Wow, that guy did all those drugs and had that life and lived to be 76. That's something else. Newsroom Africa is taken to putting its logo in the middle of its videos so that you can't watch them. It's very annoying. On YouTube, this is Newsroom Africa, and there's a logo right in the center, so every time someone talks, it goes right over their faces. And I presume that's to stop copyright theft, but it's right in the center of the video, and it becomes very distracting, very annoying. See, look at that. You can't even see. It's right over her face. I mean, that's stupid. Why don't you just put it on the radio? Very distracting and annoying. All right, now, you guys had to rush to tell me that. We just finished the news. That was the last item. Okay, well, let me get to the bottom of this. Okay, so this is what I was sent. Sorry, folks. All right. Okay. So Mad Max, thank you for the super chat. 140 Rand. And Philip Holtz. Yeah, for questions. Well, that's probably in response to me talking to the embassy. When I talked to the U.S. officials, when I talked to U.S. officials last week, I warned them that they're driving some of us crazy by not answering questions. And maybe that's what it is. They've got someone around to answer questions, but they're going to be flooded. So much like the lady who wrote to me and then less than 24 hours wrote a message angry that I hadn't responded to her email. And I wrote back and I said, what email? I have 5,000 emails in my inbox. What are you talking about? I don't know who you are. And then wrote back to me with a very strange and convoluted story about her situation, to which I responded. Very strange. But I mean, this is what's going to happen. So they're opening the door, and they should. They should open the door so people can ask them questions. They should have done it all along. But what they're opening the door to now is just endless complaints, because what's going to happen is that Afrikaners or South Africans are going to write to them, and 12 hours later, why haven't you responded? Where's my message? How come you're not answering me? Trust me, I know. I've been the victim of that for 5 months. I've been the victim of that for 5 months. Yeah. I've never listened to Black Sabbath. Not my cup of tea. When are those sanctions coming to? Well, we have no idea, Mornay Smith. This is an important step, exiting the Foreign Relations Committee, and it was a 31-19 vote. That's huge. 31-19. That means that's a lot of people voted in favor of this thing in committee. That's a big committee, by the way. 50 people on a committee. It's ridiculous. You shouldn't have more than 9 people on a committee. 7 and 9. So 50 people voted. 31 said move it to the floor. So it goes to the floor now. It will be debated on the floor and possibly marked up. And then if it passes, it goes to the Senate. They do the same. If there's any changes, it goes back to the House until they have a version that is identical on both sides. And then they sign it, vote on it, and it goes up to the president. So we don't know. But the fact that it got out of committee in such a short period of time, just April 3rd until now, is rather impressive. The bill last year didn't go anywhere. This one got out. This bill passed the first round. The best news I've heard in 30 years, says Super D. Yep. Yeah, a lot of mileage in 76 years, that's for sure. Edward said he thought Ozzy was going to outlive him. Huh. Surprised Ozzy was, yeah, that's South African. I'm surprised he was 76 too. It never dawned on me he was that old. Yeah, I've not been a fan, but rest in peace. Yep. Colbert lost $40 million last year, but South Park made $1.5 billion. There you go. Gideon Ditzfat, thank you for your subscription. Yeah, yeah, there you go. That's all you need to know, Pierre. So losing money. Why should they have to go with the losing program? I think they should just fire him now. It's causing chaos. Been reading the comments all day. What's causing chaos, David Wilson? It's causing chaos. Ozzy's passing? I don't think that's what you're talking about. Most of the news is of the who cares variety anyway. Not the news that I pick. Was waiting for news to finish, but then the questions came up. Okay, it's okay, Max. I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just saying that it happens every day. People do it. And I don't dissuade it because some people super chat and I think they could use the coin. So I'm not complaining. But Yeah, that's legitimate. That's the U.S. Embassy website. Let me go back to it again, and we'll show you that. That's legitimate. So they're doing that. So that's news. I'll have to share that. There you go. Questions about refugee resettlement? Email them. There you go. Access is free. There you go. Questions? There you go. Before reaching out, please read our website. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So that's the problem. Now, South Africans don't read. They don't listen. They hear what they want to hear and they do what they want to do. Reality be damned. So they're going to be swamped by emails. Yep. Docs are still doing some tests. Natalie, I'm sorry, Natalie. I'm not sure what's going on there. Long day. This is way too busy for me to. Alan, what's too busy for you? Castor wanted its appeal to not take medication. Okay, well, Castor Samaya is still fighting that battle. Pretty soon, Castor Samaya will be too old to compete effectively, so it'll be OB. Safa's the most impatient people on earth. I'm married to a beautiful Bormaisi and promise Safas are impatient. I got you, Richard. Refugees confused and panicked enough. We don't need more. Teresa Layfeld, welcome to you. Pickle, Sandra Yonk, you go where you apply for the refugee program. Okay. It's nothing new, just reiterating to go to the website and reach out if they can't find answers. Well, they didn't actually tell people to reach out before, did they? That's not that one I'm not familiar with. Thank you, Philip, for the super chat. Let me see what that was for. Here's some coins. Yeah, no, it's all right for the interrupt. It's okay. I mean, nobody take offense. It's just you throw the game off, and I'm not offended, but some people get bent out of shape. I'm here for the news. I don't want to hear refugee questions. I don't know. Why are you talking about this? I don't want to hear any more music. Your music sucks. The Skeeter song is pretty cool. You guys like the Skeeter song? I know I love the Skeeter song. That was some good one. The Mozzie song. We did the Mozzie song. So yeah. Anyway, for those of you who are following me on gosh bless it, on Spotify, we're up to 338 listeners. Wow, yesterday was a good day. We gained 102 different. Well, let's see how many views we got here. So we got 13,000 streams now. Thanks, folks. 309 playlist ads. So wow, 250 followers, 338 listeners. I'm not sure they worked that. 4,400 streams. Oh, not 13,000. 4,400 streams. That's okay. I thought it was a little high. Yeah. Okay. So let me get to Skeeter season. Yeah. So we did this one, and some people said this sounds very Dutch. Very Dutch.
Zuid-Afrika, mijn geboorteplek, mijn toeiste van Zeepunt tot Margate. En punten tussenin, ons is liever ons prachtige thee. Waar ons harten volwassen geword het, maar tijd het in ons gedraaid. En de stad om te gaan.
Tijd om te gaan. Time to go. Tijd om te trekken.
Zuid-Afrika, mijn geboorteplek, mijn thuiste van Zeepunt tot Margate. En punten tussenin, ons is liever ons prachtige thee. Waar ons harten volwassen geword het, maar tijd in ons gedraaid. En de stad om te gaan.
Yes, it does sound like someone singing with a Dutch accent. That's why I like it. So how soon before Ronaldo complains about my AI-generated voice and the way that she pronounces "hun"? What? Loretta just got robbed. How do people get robbed? I'm sorry to hear that, Loretta. All the emails sent to PRM from May 12th to now going to flood email as if they're reinstated, or has it been active all along? Lindy, I don't know the answer on that. I'm sure they didn't turn the account off. Yeah, I'm not sure what the answer on that is. Yep. Oh, you're welcome, Pete Schmidt. I really hope our fellow South Africans follow the instructions and read first. I even feel bad for Colonel Chris. He is explaining, blue in the face, and yet hundreds of stupid questions a day. Yeah, there are a lot of them. But people are just frightened. I understand it. How about a song with Austin Power lines? Yeah, we should do one of those. I would love for you to thank you in person that gifted me membership. Who gave a gifted membership? Did it just happen, Happy Slappy? I didn't see any gifted memberships today, so I don't know who gifted your membership. I don't know once it goes off the screen. I don't know, so I can't thank them. But whoever gifted you the membership, thank you for doing that. Appreciate that. Yeah. Got an idea for Colonel Homer Simpson versus Ramaphosa. Hendo says that's right. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's right. The news is good. What does the word news mean? North, east, southwest. That's good, Richard. I like that. The Muzzy song is pretty good, yeah. There's nothing more we need to know, folks. It's simply an update on the page saying we can ask questions. Colonel's from the future and gives us info months before the others do. Thank you for that. Oh, my goodness. I'm late. I was making dinner, says Angelique. Well, how was dinner? Did you eat it already, or are you eating it now as you watch the program? Caitlin, what's going on? Right. Teresa Mostart. All right. If I come as a refugee, I will teach you to braai and drink brandy. Well, Tiana Baker, that's very kind of you. Baker. But I know how to braai, and I haven't had brandy in ages. Does sound Dutch, you're right. Most South Africans want things done for them. Well, I don't know about most, but there are a lot of people that are like that. But they're not the only ones. Americans, the same way. People have just, the world has become a strange place of doers and achievers to demanders and sitters. A lot of people. Far too many. Far too many. Erica gave a super chat of 140 Rand, says, have a red cappuccino. Oh, I love me red cappuccino. Love that robust red cappuccino. You know, a lot of people don't know what that is in South Africa. I asked for red cappuccino. They look at me like I'm from Mars. Really? Casper de Vries with one of his impressions when I hear this. Someone else said Casper de Vries as well. Just got robbed of 3,000, said Loretta. Sorry to hear that, Loretta. That's terrible. No, we don't read manuals or instructions. Very impatient, short-tempered. Yeah, I know. That's why a lot of things that are, you know, self-made kits in South Africa just fall apart because people like the instruction book. Who needs that? They throw it out. They just start tinkering, put it together, and the wheel falls off. The handle breaks. I told you months ago, Chris has a hot tub time machine. I do have a hot tub. And do you know how many times I've used my hot tub? You want to guess how many times I've used my hot tub? I mean, how often do I use my hot tub? How often do I use my hot tub? That's probably what I should say. Kenny and Gayton. All right. One of my favorite local songs is Lucky Star by Mango Groove. Making burgers. Okay. What do Americans feel about refugees in their country? Well, South African. There's 330 million Americans, and I'd say 329 million 600,000 have no idea about the refugees and don't care. Doesn't bother them. Unless they wind up in a neighborhood and they find out, hey, these are nice people. No, people don't know. Did you get your Amarula? No, I didn't, Johan, and the clock is ticking. I've got a week left to go get the Amarula. Thank you for reminding me of that. I do need to go get my Amarula. But I need to edit a video today. I'm going to make a mark of that. I don't even know if they have Amarula at the package store, but I'll look and see. We do not read. We look at the pictures. Idris. We look at the pictures. Please remove a stick from your start. My husband cannot look past it. It's there for a reason. I'm like the brothers who put their hats on and leave the tags on it. That's a hologram. It's a hologram saying this is genuine material. Called in, corrected one of the radio stations today reporting fake news that Ronnie Jacksonville says it's only white Afrikaner farmers. Says people like you that puts out. Yeah, exactly, Alan. Well done. Well done, Alan. Yeah, it's not white Afrikaner farmers. That's simply a lie. It's always been a lie. You also love red cappuccino. Somebody, I saw who that was. Yeah, red cappuccino is awesome. Oh, it's Blonde Topaz. Hey, Blonde Topaz, what's going on? So, mooi song. Net jammer dit. Gekom tot waar ons moet. Vloek on als mot achterlaat. Heartbroken. I'm sorry, Mandy. Sorry, you're heartbroken. Wasn't trying to bum you out. Colonel, the typical board man, braai, boobs, blue bull, and brandy. Well, I mean, minus the blue bull, that's pretty good. SABC can go down as the didn't buy cent for transmitting their signal. They didn't. I saw those Starbucks drinks like you, Spart, 50 for that small. Oh, yes, Janine, they're very expensive. Very, very expensive. Yep. Here I can get them for about $1.50, $1.75 a piece, which is still expensive. In South Africa, they're more than that. Yeah, 50 Rand is not cheap. Not cheap. Twice a year for the big tub. Used it once, I bet. Nope. Good guess. 0 times. I don't like those things. It's a huge waste of water. Huge waste of water. I don't like baths, lying in your filth. Not my cup of tea, unless you're trying to soften your skin up. No. Colonel, it is taking place on a daily basis. Nobody's safe in this crap hole. Tom, I think you're right about that. Hey, what's going on, Tillin? OG. Neanderthals can't read. We guess. Have a gen, but cheap man. What? Thanks, ANC government. My husband, who works in the motor industry, will be without a job soon. Very worrying. I'm so sorry to hear that, Leon. And you're right. This is exactly courtesy of the ANC. I warned. Had the ANC ever been serious about this instead of taking a GOA for granted and sought a bilateral trade agreement? I warned about that in the first Trump administration. Trump likes bilateral agreements, and that's something that's going to feature. And I thought Trump was going to win the election, and if he won the election, he would have focused on it, but he didn't, according to the Federal Elections Commission. So for 4 years, the world suffered through misery of Joe Biden. You know, my mind's going blank now. Yeah, and Trump came back and he went straight for it. So if the ANC had bothered trying to negotiate a bilateral trade agreement with the Biden administration, which would have been very favorable to such a thing, they wouldn't have these problems now. You should listen to Sturhrüte an Manikisru. Okay, Harley, thank you for sharing that. Let me try to find that text. You sent that at, oh, these timestamps are gone again. So annoying. Okay, 12:44. Okay, 12:44. Well, a lot of messages came through that time from 12:44. There it is, Harley. Thank you for that. Okay, Larika Ralk. Okay, Larika Ralk isn't she an older performer? Am I thinking the same person? Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Harley. Ingrid's Inspirations. Shane Fun Art. Chris, you need to send a ship. Yeah, we said we can hire Disney to bring you all over. We are good at adapting, just wondering how Americans feel working with us when they see fellow USA. No. Okay, dude, South African. Unemployment is not an issue here. This isn't South Africa. You're not taking jobs from Americans. Illegal aliens have taken jobs from Americans, and they're being removed. But there are 13 million vacant jobs right now. You're not taking anyone's job. No one sees it as that. Anyone that wants a job in America could be working right now. Anyone. If they're physically capable of working, they can work. If I want to go back to work, there's so many offers. So many offers. But I'm kind of like, you want me to work? You need to make me CEO. Otherwise, I'm not interested. Yes, Super D, bathing your own dirty water is a bit cringe. I agree. No one's heard of red cappuccino here, Natasha. No. Some people in Pretoria haven't heard of red cappuccino. Heinrich Havang is back once. He's been here around a long time. Once for every one of the 16 wives. 1 kg Frappuccino mix is 80 Rand. And Mad Max remarks by Representative Brian Mast, Chairman. Okay, thank you for that. Brian Mast. Okay. Well, take me there. Okay, let's see what that is. Okay. Boy, you're all of us. Okay, 2 minutes. I can reply. Verified accounts mentioned by Donald Debbie can reply. So, wow, I can actually... It says I can reply. Wow, so I've been verified by this guy, whoever this guy is, who posted this. Well, thank you for that.
I want to voice my strong support for H.R. 2633, the U.S.-South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act. This is a targeted and overdue response to troubling shifts in South Africa's foreign policy under the African National Congress. Let me be clear that this bill is not anti-South Africa. It is pro-accountability. For too long, we've watched a key partner drift closer to authoritarian regimes, conducting joint military drills with Russia, strengthening economic and cybersecurity ties with the Kremlin and Beijing, and aligning with efforts to
Shoot. Sorry. My bad. I apologize, guys. Apologies. Yeah, since I put this pop filter on here, I don't see the color of the microphone as well. So yeah, no, I'm not mutated. I'm not mutated. I'm not mutated. I'm not mutated. We have red rooibos zucchini. Ugh, that sounds gross. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So, Alan, that's great that they corrected the record when you told them it was incorrect and they deleted the fake news. You should have told them they should talk to me. And you should talk to people who actually know what they're talking about here. If they want to really cover, the story, I'd be happy to talk to them and disabuse them of the fake media that, see, that's the problem. These media outlets just glom onto someone else's story. Like I read Amanda Koza's story. Amanda does a decent job reporting for Cockprot 24, but she also slips fake news in there, whether she realizes or not, whether she's lazy or uninformed or it's intentional, I don't know. But I just ripped apart 4 things in an article earlier, which were total bullshit. And the same thing with the other report that I covered in the Times Live. It's total bullshit. Just made up stuff. 49 white South Africans, 49 Afrikaners. That wasn't the case. It's just lies. Mutated Afrikaner. You're not deaf. It just went quiet. Resistance is futile. Yes, it is futile. All right, let's get back to Brian Mast.
Dollarize the global economy. These actions raise serious questions about the ANC's alignment with the democratic values and U.S. interests. Even more alarming has been South Africa's posture following the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. The ANC's refusal to acknowledge those atrocities, its direct engagement with Hamas leadership, and its politicized case against Israel at the ICJ reflects a government that has turned away from principle and from its traditional role as a bridge between the global South and democratic norms. South Africa or any nation cannot conduct themselves in such a manner and expect the same quality of relationship with the United States of America. H.R. 2633 requires the administration to provide clarity. It mandates a full, comprehensive review of bilateral relationship between our two countries.
Look at the congressman to his left. Look at that guy's face. It looks like somebody's got a turd under his nose. He looks very unhappy that Brian Mast is saying this. Look at that expression under the @ symbol for Dan Davy. Look at that guy's face. Oh my gosh. Oh, he looks pretty unhappy, doesn't he? Look at that.
Requires the president to certify whether South Africa has engaged in activities undermining the United States, national security, or foreign policy interests, and requires a classified report identifying South African individuals eligible for sanctions based on corruption or human rights abuses. These are practical, measured steps to ensure our policy reflects our values. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, not to sever ties with South Africa, but to reset the expectations that we have. We owe it to the American people and to the South African people to take these concerns seriously, and I thank you all for hearing my remarks.
Brian Mast. Yep. Wow. That's pretty wild.
I want to voice my strong support.
Okay, well, it started replaying. I didn't ask you to do that, so I want to save that video very quickly. Okay, so wow, well done. So yeah, this is some serious stuff, and the ANC is, I think someone just a moment ago really said it well. Hang on a second, I got to save this before we forget about it. Again, they want to make the distinction. This is not on South Africa. It's, as the media are claiming, Newsroom Africa is claiming, it's not on South Africa. It's on potentially on some of the leaders. Sound is not gone. You're behind. You're way behind, expat Joubert. He looks like a kid that was sent to his room, exactly. Little 5-month-old baby died. Cot death, and young mommy cannot bury baby. The camel drive community donating money. Well, that's a shame. What happened to the 5-month-old? That's terrible. That guy's paused. Yeah, Hank Johnson. Johnson. I'm concerned that if you put all these Marines on Okinawa, on Guam, that the island will capsize. You must hear what he said later. No, I didn't hear what he said later, Hank. What did he say later? Sean Nadir gave a 50 Rand super chat saying, if Ozzy Osbourne can make 76, we got at least 30 years left of the kernel on this channel. Well, assuming YouTube's around 30 years. AI generated deafness. There you go. That's right. That was my AI, sir. That's Alan said. The ANC is laughing it off because they believe it'll go nowhere, same as they believe the midterms the Democrats will take control of the House. Well, they won't. They're wrong. Can only say thank you and continue to pray for our family, says Rex's Uman. You're welcome, Rex. My pleasure. Anyway. Digital mom, I thought they went deaf. Oh my goodness. Thanks for clarity on employment. Maybe just me, but our suppression with no jobs makes us think small scale. It does, South African. It does. There are 13 million jobs of begging right now. We've done this many times. I go on to Indeed.com, Monster.com, and I find thousands of jobs. You pick a location, I find it all kinds for electricians, HVAC technicians, plumbers, masons, pharmacists, scientists, farmers, doctors, lawyers, photojournalists, you name it, burger flippers. There are more jobs you can shake a stick at. The economy is humming along here despite attempts by the Wall Street Journal and fake news to create the impression that America's economy is in bad shape. And you can see them almost, suffering in abdominal pain every time that they have to report that the jobs growth has gone up, that the tariffs are not having the impact, and that consumers aren't eating the cost of that, and that inflation has been tamed. It kills them every time. If they can find anything that even slightly goes against that argument, they give it much fanfare, and it's above the fold, top story. But this economy is doing quite well despite the inflation. We still have elevated prices, and that's a problem for consumers, but some of that's coming back down now. Amazing, the uninformed and dismissive comments next from many South Africans. People seriously do seem to get the important severity of this bill. Where are they commenting at, Leona? Where are they commenting? Now, Lady Pondor should be held accountable for her input against Israel. Oh, I think so too. Monster.com in USA, jobs galore. Correct. Some people are complaining this bill is taking long. Let me say, after decades in Israel, the bill is taking long? Okay, look, Super D, I don't care if anybody says the bill's taking long. They clearly don't understand politics and legislation. This bill isn't taking long, and it doesn't matter. Let's pretend, okay? Let's pretend that Congress doesn't go into recess in August when they're scheduled to take a vacation because Trump is pushing for them to stay to get his nominees appointed through the Senate. So let's pretend that happens. Let's also say this bill goes to the floor next week. Not going to happen. Let's say it goes next week. Okay, so that's August 1st. Goes to the floor. They debate it for 10 days. They don't make any changes. This is all impossible. Goes to the Senate. They debate it. Let's say it becomes law by September 15th, before the end of the fiscal year. Well, that just mandates the executive branch to investigate this. And there's no timeline tied to it. An investigation is probably going to take a minimum of 90 days, probably as much as, who keeps freaking writing me? God bless it. Oh, between someone trespassing on my property. What the hell's going on here? Sorry, just nonsense messages over here. Anyway, remember, folks, I've got volunteer for veterans organizations. I also have other things I have to respond to since I can't ignore them. Did some research on the line of jobs I'd like to do in some preferred locations, and quite a few gives me hope. It should give you lots of hope. There's tons of jobs. Some of the refugees that have come here are making more money in the jobs they've already started than I made in 3/4 of my career in U.S. Army. They're starting out making more money, arriving as a fucking refugee, making more money than I did as a serving soldier. Yep. I'd like to thank American people for not punishing South African citizens if the actions are corrupt the political class. I did some research. Okay, he looks like he is other falling asleep. Yeah, but people upset about how long the bill's taking don't understand how legislation works. I have no empathy for those people. That's their problem. Saw today on Twitter how people congratulate Trump on the Japan deal, yet some people just kept criticizing, crying about Trump and Epstein. Exactly. 14 years as a software developer. Well, Ludwig, there's more jobs you can swing a dead cat at over here for that. So, yep. All right, I've got to drop off. It's 1 o'clock. Is Ronaldo ready? He's probably contacting me too. Okay, got to go. See you guys on Ronaldo. Please stick around with us. Didn't realize the clock came up that quickly. We'll see you over there in just a moment. Wednesdays with the Colonel. Cheers. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. Please hit the like button. Cheers.